Welcome to the Orange Cactus Coffee Podcast with Mike Kincaid and Jake Goebel. Join them as they experience specialty coffee and document their journey. These friends explore roasts and roasting methods, brewing equipment and techniques, and review the cafes they visit along the way.
Thanks, Brioni, and thank you for joining us for episode 53 of the Orange Cactus Coffee Podcast. Chris Griffith joins us for the show today. This is kind of episode 2 of 2. We did an interview with Chris in episode 52, which was the first one, and now we're on to the second portion. We just got talking and having such a great time. We just kept going and going and going. We talked about coffee experiences that he had down in Florida. Talked about brew tips of the week. Talked about the AeroPress. Talked about roasting. Just a fantastic time. I really hope you enjoy it. Let's jump right in. Do you have time to hang with us and finish the rest of the show up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, we still got to get his experience. He's got some cafe experiences.
I'm trying to get there, bro. I'm trying to get there.
Well, let's get there.
Oh,
you're taking the long way.
Okay. I'm sorry.
We're at like what? 35 minutes? 45? Probably about 45.
I don't know. You're unbearable with the frog voice. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, let's just keep it rolling.
All right. So let me tell you who is not unbearable. Manny G. Manny G is not unbearable. And today,
Manny G recommends.
What does Manny G recommend? Manny G recommends the Book of Roast, The Craft of Coffee Roasting from Bean to Business. This is a 161-page monster. It looks like it's got from Roast Magazine, kind of their archives, all packaged together and bound and thrown out there as a book. It looks pretty cool, and it looks like it's only $125 for this book through the Roast website. I don't. Have you read any of Roast Magazine, Chris, or is this the first time you've heard of these people as well?
I have heard of this book through the Home Barista website, but I haven't checked it out yet.
You haven't dropped $125 on it yet?
No, but I'm sure right around the corner I'm going to do that. Sweet.
Because, if I were going to do something, it would be a $3 popcorn roaster and then, $200 on books to get me using it. I think is probably what I would do. Knowledge is priceless. Absolutely. That's right. So that is what Manny G recommends, and thank you so much, Manny, for keeping your recommendations coming.
And can we borrow it when you're done?
And can we borrow? So there is a question when it comes to coffee experiences here, and it's from also a previous guest that we've had on from the Ghostly Roaster. So as a third wave coffee roaster or third wave coffee drinker, and what that means is kind of the lighter roasts, chasing that blueberries to the face, drinking the coffee without cream and sugar, not having it real dark and charcoaled like Starbucks. His question is this: should you have a drip machine and first wave coffee around the house for parties? So should you have that frozen bag of Pete's in your freezer? Should you have that Pike Place pre-ground for my convenience that you got from Starbucks frozen in the freezer ready for parties? And then, it's a two-part question. Are you being more polite to cater to your guests, or how much of an insult is it to them given they don't like third wave coffee? Should you have both? Who wants to take that one first? Mike? Chris?
Well, I can say what I have.
All right. Tell us what you got, Mike.
If you can bear with the voice.
Yeah, as long as you can speak up a little bit, that's fine.
I can.
Okay, perfect.
That's the bearing with the voice.
Well, maybe we should skip you then.
No, maybe.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good. I appreciate your... So for me, I've encountered this where I have many family members that don't like... I guess you can call it specialty coffee or lighter roasted coffee that has, the florals or the fruitiness or some more of the acidity, all the things that we've come to enjoy in some of the lighter roasted coffees when they're done well. They don't like them, and for many reasons, or mainly one big reason, is because they're so used to adding creamer and flavored creamer and sugar. They have the routine. They had 2 tablespoons of this, tablespoon of sugar, And so instead of having them decline when I offer to make coffee, I just know that they kind of like what they're accustomed to. And so I do keep a couple bags of pre-ground Pete's in the freezer, in a freezer specific bag with all the air squeezed out of it.
Perfect.
So I do my best. The Pete's was free, so I'm not into it for any money, which is the nice thing. And I also keep decaf in there because I have a lot of family members, if we get together for dinner, they want decaf. I don't really have decaf usually on hand, having our cookies and coffee, and I don't have something that they would enjoy. So I do try to accommodate a little bit.
You ain't getting none of my cactus cookies.
No.
Period. Chris, what about you? How do you solve that problem? Does everybody chase blueberries to the face? Do you keep a dripper on hand, or what do you do?
So what I've been doing lately is we do have a Keurig machine for people who that's what their thing is, and they feel like they're in control of picking what they want. At the same time, I wouldn't keep a bag of coffee from the store. What I usually do is when I roast for two different purposes. I roast for my morning coffee, which I don't have the morning ritual. I have a drip brewer, and I just need to wake up and have a cup of coffee. So I roast for two purposes. I roast one bean for that, and then when later on in the day when I want the real good coffee, then I roast other beans for that. So I will always have on hand a bean that I feel is good enough for a drip brewer, or if I can convince them to allow me to use either my French press or my AeroPress, then I would try to push them that way. But if they don't want to do any of that, like I have some older relatives who can't stand too strong and strong in the sense of the caffeine content, whatever. So they're always watering down the coffee that I make for them. In that case, I have the Keurig machine for them.
What kind of batch brewer are you using? What for your drip coffee in the morning when you just kind of need to get up and get going?
Yeah, so this is, I think, something that you can turn into a completely different episode. I'm unhappy with it, and I'm trying to understand, like, how can we make this better? Because I'm still relatively new in this journey, but I know that I'm not happy. I have just a regular, I think it's a Cuisinart drip machine that I have the timer set up so that as soon as I put my foot on the ground, I walk right to the coffee machine, and there's a cup there waiting for me. And it's not the best coffee in the morning, but it's going to help wake me up.
Yeah,
and then
it's a caffeine delivery system at that time.
Exactly. But I want to improve that. There's got to be a better way to do that. And so I think that's a journey that it definitely an episode that you could do right there is to figure out how to make that process better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's my goal. I don't have a drip machine at the moment. I don't have a Keurig machine. I don't have anything. I don't have Mr. Coffee or anything like that. But I want to get one of B-More's Brazen batch brewers. So maybe I'll get one of those in the next month or two and kind of keep you up to date. But that's kind of going to be my next thing. I'm looking at there's a Bonavita batch brewer, and all of these ones brew directly into a carafe. So you can set it, all the different things. You can set the timer. You can do all those different things. I think one of the Brazens allows you to do it with your phone, kind of set it up with your phone and get it, ready by the time you wake up or the specific times. And so that's what I'd like to kind of get into and maybe report back to you on that. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. I've heard good things about the Brazen, and it's SCAA cert or SCCA or
SCA
S whatever.
It's just SCA.
What was certified. That Kickstarter that you guys were looking at for the automated pour over machine?
The Perk?
Yeah, that was the Perk. Was that the Perk? Did you set a timer for that? I think that was individual. That was only one cup, though.
But my point is that if that technology works out, it's only a matter of time before someone figures out a way to, turn that into something that a home device that anyone can use kind of and to take the place of a drip brewer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where it's going if it takes off, if it's successful.
Yeah. I'm with you, Chris. I try to have both types of coffees on hand. My problem is I drink too much and I don't. So, but that's my goal because I really enjoy a coffee with cream and sugar. I still really enjoy that. I enjoy trying to make mochas out of the mocha pot with, frothed milk with a little hand frother and some chocolate syrup or caramel syrup in there. And then I also really enjoy kind of the lighter, fruitier, single origin, blueberries to the face coffees. So I like to have as much variety on hand as possible. And I'll try and, if I know that I'm going to have some people over, I'll try and have a couple different varieties there. And then what I'll do is I'll brew up, I'll try to use as many devices as people will let me get away with, and to try and indoctrinate them into understanding what coffee is really all about and what it could be for them. So I'll have a Hario V60 and I might brew 300 grams of that. And then I'll give little 100-gram servings to a couple different people, or I'll do like 50-gram servings and then ask them to taste it black. And see if they can get kind of some of the floral notes or some of the fruity notes. Like, do you taste any grape there? Or are you getting any blue pixie stick when you're drinking that over there? And then knowing that they want the cream and sugar coffee, I'll have another one going as well. I'll ask them how strong they like it. I'll try and do maybe a French press for a couple if they like their coffee similarly. And then if somebody else wants theirs a little bit different, I'll try and do an AeroPress for them or the Chemex. And so I try to, expose them to more and more different things of coffee. And I haven't had any of my guests say, no coffee for me. So everyone's indulged me.
Are they relatives?
No, these are.
There you go.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I don't have any relatives out here.
It's usually they're the ones that are honest. Ugh.
This is terrible.
Like I said, I have an elderly aunt. I made her an AeroPress, and she was like, "It's a little too much for me. Can you water it down for me?" So I'm like, "Thanks a lot." But it sounds like you really need a good friend who roasts his own coffee, who could help supply you. If only you had such a good friend.
I would settle for a decent friend at the moment, Chris. But I don't even have that.
No. I don't know. I don't know why. That's another episode there, too.
That's another episode. So what about any other coffee experiences? Do you have any go-to shops there locally where you're at in Florida? Maybe a good experience and a bad experience, or maybe you only have great experiences at cafes. I don't know, but share with us a little bit about what you've recently experienced out and about.
Sure. Number one, I definitely need to get out more. But a couple things. I'll start with the good. We have a shop near Winter Park called Lineage Coffee, and I've been there once. It's basically you go. It's in a building that shares a space with a bunch of other little businesses. Like there's a bakery, there's a flower shop. There's a little place to get a sandwich, a juice bar. And so they share this space. It's called an open market, but it's in a building. And they have a stand there where they have someone who does your pour over for you. And they have a roaster because there's a shared kitchen. I didn't get to see the roaster, but they have a roaster somewhere in the back there, and they roast their own beans. And that is well known for having, really good third wave coffee, and I can attest to that. It was very good when I had it there. I had a pour over.
What about the service? When you walked in, did they kind of look down their nose at you like real snooty, or were they very,
yes. Yeah, I didn't quite fit in. And,
okay.
The barista, he didn't, I was trying to get information from him, how much coffee are you using, trying to spark a conversation about what he's doing so I could learn from him. But he was, wasn't really talkative.
Yeah.
So
that's been our experience as well, especially when I went out to Colorado Springs. It seemed like the better the coffee itself, the worse service that I got. Like I found good, solid second wave shops that were very kind and very energetic and engaging and would talk coffee all day long, but they really didn't know anything about the coffee, as opposed to you go to a real specialty shop and it's clear they know more than I do, but they don't want to talk about it, you know?
Yeah. So a shout out to Lineage. I enjoy their coffee. There's another place that I hit up on my way to work. And this place is interesting because it's a single owner who basically rented a space out of, I guess you would call it like an industrial park. So but it's a little bit nicer than your normal industrial park. But so he rents a space out of there. It has it looks like the front of a business. You go in, he's got a roaster. And if he has coffee for you and you want him to make you a coffee, he'll do a pour over. He's got an espresso machine. He can make whatever you want. But the thing is he just does this part time. So there's no like set hours of operation. You can go there one day and he's there, and another day he's not. The business is called Second Roast. And I liked it because it was on my way to work and I could talk to this guy. You know, his roaster's right there. We could have conversations about roasting, about beans. I could ask him about the business. And it was really nice. Lately, he's been getting more into wholesale. So when I get there aren't even beans for him to make a pour over for me, because he's more into wholesale now. So I think his business is doing really well and it's keeping him busy. And so good for him, you know, he's doing a good thing.
He's too busy for you, is what it sounds like.
Well, it just, but like I said, it's not really a coffee shop. If he happens to be there and you show up, he'll make you a coffee. But so that's kind of funny. But the other, real quick, I wanted to go into, there was this local place that I stopped at a couple months ago. It's right around the corner from my house. And I figured, I want to give it a try. So I go into this place and the counter has, I tell you this story because this is what we're up against. You go in and the counter has these plastic bins with the beans in the plastic bins, and the beans say Barney's on them, like they're labeled with Barney's and different kinds or whatever. And I asked the gentleman, I was like, I'm looking to get some beans, some roasted beans. Are these from Barney's? And he was like, well, it's not really from Barney's, but it's the same roaster. And I was like, okay, when were they roasted? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, I get them in these bags. I buy them from this guy in New Jersey, and he pulls a bag out, and it's it's folded over with a rubber band around it. And he's like, and I was like, does it have a roasting date on it? He's like, no, but it has what do you call it? An expiration date? It's 2 years out, the expiration date on these beans. So obviously this is not a place where I can even, I would just be throwing my money down the toilet if I bought my beans there. I wanted to go in there and try to patronage the place, but I wouldn't be able to do it.
I mean, they came from New Jersey, bro. What more do you want? They've got the rubber band. They're good for 2 years. It's not Barney's. It's a different guy, but it's the same sort of. You know what I mean? It's like the branding is somebody else's, but it's the same roaster. Come on, you're totally overreacting, bro.
Yeah. But you see, that's what. Yeah, but that's what. And now I think about it. I remember, 5-6 years ago, that was the thing. You go into Barney's and they have these big plastic bins full of beans. They've probably been there for like a week or two. Out in the, there's nothing to keep them from going stale. And, they scoop the beans in your bag and then they sell it to you. And this is what people love. And so it's going to be really hard to educate the consumers to know that, this, I know you've been told for a long time that this is acceptable, but you really don't know what you're missing. So that's our challenge.
Yeah. And I think you were right on. I think there's one question, if anything, right? Just learn one question. And that is, when were they roasted? Usually that, will give you a guide of if you're onto something, if they don't know, or if they're old, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's kind of the first question that I try to educate people. When were they roasted? And I connect it usually to produce. But do you go to the market and want to know how fresh the produce is? It goes bad. So
yeah, and very clearly you can find out whether they know or whether they care.
Yeah.
Because if you ask them when it was roasted and they don't know, but they do care, it's kind of awkward and you feel kind of sad for them.
Yeah.
Because they would like to, and then they realize, oh, maybe I should know, and this is, oh, man. But if they don't know and they don't care, that becomes immediately obvious as well. And then you get back into the things that Mike and I like, which is bad coffee and bad service, because it gives us something to talk about. But we don't recommend that for everybody to go out and spend good money on bad service and bad coffee. We just do it because we like to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Chris, you mentioned a couple times there that you go get a pour over. What's your go-to device when you're brewing at home?
So I use the AeroPress. I noticed the other day at Walmart that you can get a Belita pour over for $20. So I mean, I need to get a nice pour over, maybe a Chemex or the Hario, just so I have more devices, like you said. And when you have people over, you can try different things, and I could try to dial in different things. But right now, mostly it's the AeroPress. I have one at home and I have one at work that I keep on my desk. They're very convenient. It's quick and it delivers a good cup of coffee.
You're chasing the dragon at work, huh, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Good to go. Good to go.
Do you get a lot of questions, or are they used to it now?
They're used to it now. They're used to it now. I have a couple coworkers that I've hooked. So I end up, sharing my beans with them and I get to have them, try new roasts that I do as well. So that's kind of nice. Yeah.
Do you have a hand grinder that you keep at work as well, or do you grind them at home before you take off? And
no,
keep
I
them
have
in air.
I have that same hand grinder that you guys did a review on. It's like a stainless steel cylinder, just enough for one cup.
Yeah,
nice. Do you make your coworkers grind their own? Or do you do that?
I'm about to tell them how to use the AeroPress and just say, hey, you want some? Here you go. Just go do it.
There you go.
Yeah. Mike likes to wear T-shirts that are too small for him and then grind up while he's flexing his biceps for his coworkers and be like, so,
exactly.
Do you guys like coffee?
Well, you cut it a little, too, on the inside. You kind of put the little perforations in your shirt, and then it ripped. Oh, it's the third one.
Oh, man.
The question is it working for him?
Oh, of course. Everything works for Mike.
Yeah, I don't have to make as many cups of coffee. Those people.
Yeah, nobody wants coffee anymore. They're like, never mind. Thanks, but no thanks. So for our brew tip of the week, this one comes from Brian Parasek. Am I saying it right? Parusek? Brian, if I'm messing your name up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was on one of our videos.
There was a comment on the Blue Bottle Dripper video. He says, hey guys, I've really enjoyed your videos. I've done some serious fine tuning with this dripper and came up with a recipe that I really enjoy. Now hopefully I can find a filter that fits that is less expensive than the Blue Bottle. You and me both, Brian. You and me both. See below. Obviously, this whole timing thing is not perfect every time, but this is a general recipe I've created. This is my current favorite homebrew I hope you enjoy. The Blue Bottle Dripper, 26 grams of coffee, 390 grams of water at a 15-to-1 ratio there. He does a 60-gram pour and bloom for 45 seconds. He fills it to 200 grams slowly. At a minute 30, he fills it to 300 grams slowly. And at 2 minutes, fill to 390 grams of water, a little faster pour, finishing his pour by 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then the drawdown is usually done between 3 minutes and 15 seconds and 3:30. So it looks like he is pouring every 30 seconds, whether it's down all the way or not. Mm-hmm. He's doing kind of
he's using time.
He's using time instead of letting it drain all the way through. He's adding more and more water to go through it. Chris, what is your favorite recipe for your AeroPress? Do you use a specific ratio every time? And do you have a different ratio for you and for the missus, or for you and your coworkers, or does everybody get a straight 10-to-1 shot of blueberries to the face if they come over and they want some coffee from Chris at work?
It's always I guess you could say, a work in progress. What I've been doing lately is about an 18-to-1, because I think the AeroPress holds about 220 grams of water. And so I usually use about 20 grams of coffee, and I don't weigh it out, but I usually pour in enough water to cover the grounds and while it's blooming. And I let that sit for 30 seconds to kind of steep the coffee and to allow the coffee to expand. And of course, I'm sure it's the temperature is dropping. So after about 30 seconds, then I start doing a slow pour over in circular motion until I fill up the AeroPress. And then at this point, it's about a minute and a half total. And then I start the plunger in that. So I'm usually done at about 2 minutes.
Do you use, how do you get the hot water into the AeroPress at work? Do you bring a pour over spout or a swan neck kettle? Do you have one at home? Do you have one at work? Or do you just use kind of a hot water spigot?
At home, I have a kettle that it's not a swan neck, but it does have a fairly nice spout that I can control fairly well. At work, we have hot water on demand through the coffee maker. And this was going to be my recommendation, was if you brew your coffee at work like this, to bring in a temperature probe and to get an idea of what the temperature is that's coming out of this hot water dispenser. So we have two different ones at work. I tested both of them. One was at like 175. The other one was 195. So I used the other one. And because of the way it dispenses water, I can just have it dispensed directly into the AeroPress, and I can control it, how much water comes out. So that's how I do it at work.
Cool.
Nice. And then just, curious, do you do it inverted, or are you doing it the normal way, already set up on the cup when you start pouring the water?
So I've had my AeroPress for almost a year and a half now. And for the first year, I always did it regular over the cup. But after watching your review, I tried inverted. And the first 10 tries, I hated it. And I really didn't understand the purpose of it and all that stuff, but I stuck with it. And now I always do inverted, because now I understand the importance of it, and I've got it in to where I can do it correctly. But for anyone else out there with the AeroPress who's tried to invert it and it doesn't quite get it, I do think it's better. And if you just stick with it a couple more tries, you probably can get it down.
Nice. He's a believer.
Well, look at that. Your work has at least helped someone, you know?
Did you have any mishaps in learning the flip? Did you make any messes?
No, I've never had a problem with the flip. Some of the messes that I've had in learning are the bloom. It kind of, if you're not careful, you'll overflow the chamber with the bloom, even though the water and the grind level hasn't reached the top yet. So now you're kind of stuck with, well, what do I do with the, so I've had some mishaps where I've had to try to kind of scoop the foam off of the top just so that I can get the filter cap back on.
You could just sip that stuff, Chris. You just sip that foam right off the top.
I never thought of that. That's a good idea.
No, that's not a good recommendation.
And kind of like Jake, I have had a few burnt thumbs.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, at work, I was using the AeroPress, and someone was talking to me, and I turned around to look at them and see what they were saying.
Yeah, I can relate. I can relate to both of those things. Coffee coming out of everywhere, pouring hot water all over myself. you can't get distracted. I mean, when you're learning, you can't afford to get distracted. Well, you
right.
can't really,
I don't do this kind of stuff anymore. That's when I was learning.
Right. Me too, Chris. Me too.
I still occasionally make mishaps, and I'll share one just briefly. I have the cone or the funnel, and I usually put the funnel in the mug, and inside the funnel I put the filter cap, and I put the filter in there. I preheat the inverted AeroPress, and then I pour that water over the filter cap into the mug, right? Well, the other day, I was going through the same routine, but for some reason, I decided or just forgot to put the funnel in a mug. So it was just sitting on the counter with the filter cap.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. So I preheat the AeroPress, and I pour the water into the funnel. And it doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens. And I don't notice that there's a problem yet because the funnel created like a little vacuum suction with the water to the countertop. So then I go to do my, dump the cup out, which at that moment I realized, there's no cup.
Oh, I need to get a cup.
And instead of thinking it through, I grab the funnel and go, well, what happened? As soon as I grab the funnel, the water rushes out and goes everywhere. That was just 2 days ago,
So when you're still learning, perfect.
So
yeah.
There is a learning curve to the inverted method. Yeah. So hang in there.
Are you talking about the funnel that comes with the AeroPress?
Yeah.
I think I figured out what that it really is for. I don't know if you know this or not, but it perfectly fits over the shape of the AeroPress, and it allows you to brew into a smaller cup.
Yeah, exactly. It creates it. And then I've seen people use it as well as a funnel for adding coffee.
Right. Okay. So that's what I thought. I thought you were saying that, it's for adding coffee to the device, because I've heard people say that. And then I realized that that's really not what it's for. It's for brewing into a smaller cup than the diameter of the AeroPress.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even if the mouth, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a misunderstanding that I didn't even know for many months. If your cup is too wide and your AeroPress, the rim around the AeroPress won't fit, it also helps you with that as well. It's a good adapter. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. So I never told you that. You were having trouble with your grinder, Jake.
I don't have troubles with anything, Mike.
Well, you were having trouble getting, because you have a round cylinder in the bottom, and pouring that grounds into the top of the AeroPress.
I use a spoon.
Now you could use the funnel. Put that funnel and tap it in. You're not following. I'll do a video for you later.
Yeah, I'll need a video. Actually, can you write an article? Because I don't watch a lot of videos.
I'll do an infograph.
So, Chris, last question, getting all up into your business at home and at work with the AeroPress. I got an email, and it asked me, hey, talk a little bit more about mugs. What kind of, mugs do you guys like? Do you use? Do you have a favorite type of mug, brand of mug, shape of mug? What are you looking for in a mug? And do you use a travel mug? Is porcelain only? Break us off like that. What are your preferences? What are you using right now?
So at work, I use the cups that they provide us, the paper cups, just so I don't have to wash anything.
Do you brew the AeroPress straight into the paper cup?
Well, I do the inverted, and then I do it into the paper cup, but I double it up so that I don't smush it as I'm pushing it down.
Because you sound very powerful. And I'm surprised you don't crush those things.
Well, it does too. Yeah, if you double it up, not only I don't even think I'd ever actually crush it, but I'm just afraid that I'm going to crush it. So if you double it up, it doesn't crush it, and that it acts like the sleeve. So I reuse the sleeve. When I every time I brew, I reuse the second cup just for stability and the sleeve or whatever.
That's the last thing you want happening when you're trying to show off the AeroPress and demonstrate why you go through all this, and then you smash the cup.
Hello, ladies. Let me show you. Let me show you this cool coffee method right here. Everywhere. Yeah, that's what I would be totally afraid of.
That usually doesn't happen. That's never happened before.
Oh,
yeah,
perfect. What about it? Well, that is
at home. I'm very lucky. I have a friend who had a pottery shop locally. He's since moved away, but I had a custom made mug that he had made, and it holds just about probably 20 ounces, maybe, but I never fill it up that much. But it's made out of porcelain, and it's
sure
just it looks. What's that?
Sure you don't. You never fill it up to the brim with coffee. Of course you don't, buddy. Why would you? I got you.
It's a perfect. It's not flashy, but it's durable, and it feels good in my hand, and it feels like it's not going to break if I, put it in a sink or whatever. And I don't know if it ever breaks, I'm going to be hard to find a new mug.
How many fingers fit in the handle? Is it a full fist? Is it all 4 fingers go in there, or do you got a 2 or 3 finger it with 1 finger for control, stability on the outside, on the bottom, or what are we talking about there?
I'm holding it as we speak. I get 2 fingers, the 2 trigger fingers in there, and then it's got a little pad for your thumb to hold on to.
Nice.
So it was designed so your thumb can go right on this little spot, and then your 2 trigger fingers can go around the handle. If I had a choice, I probably would like a full hand.
All 4, or just like a 3 with one pinky finger on the outside?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because the mug I had
back and forth all the time.
The mug I had before this, I had no handle at all, and it was just a porcelain mug that was extra tall, so you can grab the top of it, and it wouldn't be as hot.
Interesting.
That is very cool. I've been kind of leaning towards the handleless mugs myself lately. I've been looking at these double-walled glass mugs, but they're not mugs; they're glasses because it's.
Do they
glass.
call them tumblers?
I don't know what they call them.
I don't know. Double walls.
Double-walled glass.
Glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's nice. So it doesn't
handles.
get you don't have to worry about it. Doesn't get hot on the outside.
Right.
That's the idea. Yeah. Well, good.
All right. There's one last little segment here, and that is our Coffee Legends. Have you ever heard of Tim Wendelboe, Chris?
I have heard the name through other podcasts. Yes.
Ooh, Tim Wendelboe. Yeah, he was on the Coffee Awesome podcast. He is from Oslo, which is in Norway. Isn't it? Isn't he from Oslo?
Yeah.
I think he's from Oslo,
Well,
which
that's where
is
he
in
resides.
Norway.
I don't know.
That's where he resides.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this interview on this Coffee Awesome podcast, he talked about losing a barista competition and how it humbled him. It's a fantastic episode. I think he's obviously not a native English speaker, and the gal that interviews him is not a native English speaker. So just fair warning, I know that sometimes distracts certain listeners. I didn't, about 5 minutes in, I think I like the accent.
You adapt.
Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand what they're saying, but it's a fantastic episode. He has a farm in Colombia. He works with other farmers, specifically Elias Roa.
So.
Is that it?
I think so.
He's trying to create this organic, sustainable farm, experimenting with compost and other methods of cultivating a good crop, and is a Nordic roasting champion. Mike, is there anything else you'd like to add about the legend Tim Wendelboe?
Yeah, I think just currently he's a great resource for anyone that wants to learn simple ways to improve the quality of their cup. He's got an article just recently on 6 things that all roasters should kind of focus on. I think that was the Perfect Daily Grind had that article. He's got a YouTube channel, and I actually really enjoy it because he's, instead of just doing like tutorials, which he does have on there, he also kind of does like a bi-weekly, monthly vlog of his trips down to the farm and what he's doing. He's got no secrets. And he's talking about his compost. He's talking about why it's important. He shows you, the layout of the land. It's just a great journey. And you can also follow him on Instagram or Twitter, and he puts out videos.
And on this topic of mugs, in his shop, he has different porcelain mugs for different types of coffee. And he thinks
every drink,
the shape of the mug brings out different flavor profiles of whatever coffee he's serving. You ever heard of that before, Chris?
I haven't, but it sounds interesting.
It sounds crazy, isn't it? I mean, it got me thinking that, like, when you go into a shop, there's really this standard, right, that's kind of been set and that's been accepted, and coffee is served in a mug or a paper cup or whatever, and not a whole lot of thought has gone into the actual device that you're consuming the coffee from. And then to see that he put a lot of thought into it is pretty cool to me. And I think you probably would enjoy that as well, Chris. I mean, being able to appreciate kind of this handcrafted mug that your friend made for you. I think it just adds to another element. Like you were saying, there's things that we're doing wrong, like the coffee beans and the buckets there, looking down people's noses. I think there's so many different things that we could be doing better in the, in coffee as a whole, and at coffee shops and in the coffee industry.
Yeah. I was just thinking, even if the assumption that a different mug could bring out a different flavor in the coffee, what it does do is it helps you connect with your customer, because everyone can feel like they have their perfect mug there. And when they go in, they want to use their mug. And so you can, you can have a tighter connection with your customer.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think when you put in effort to make things special, it never comes back, null and void.
No, it shows. It adds to the experience. And just recently, he also published his little how-to on how he makes iced coffee. And he serves it. It's so cool. He serves it in kind of like a wine bottle that's chilled. And so if you come order iced coffee, they bring out this bucket in front of you. In the bucket is a chilled bottle of iced coffee, and they pour it in a wine glass. And that's how they serve every iced coffee, you know what I mean? And so they claim it adds to the experience and the aromas and everything that goes along with that, that iced coffee. But it's cool. So cool. It's so cool. So
that's very cool. It reminds me of, remember, went out to a burger joint from work, and I was reminded this burger joint had an alcohol bar as well. And so where we were sitting, the servers were coming back and forth from the bar to tables. And when they brought drinks out, they would bring these drinks out that were frosted, right? They're like frozen. I don't know how they do that. The mugs were, they were tumblers. They were like glasses. They were, with a little foot, a little stem at the bottom, but they were frosted and they had different drinks in it. And I said, that is so cool. Why doesn't anybody do that for coffee? You ever had a frosted mug, Chris? You ever seen that before? Like from a soda shop or a shake shop or something?
No. I mean, I know that you want to serve beer in a nice frosted mug, but you don't see the too much attention to detail for any other drinks that I could think of.
And we're charging $5 for it.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, I don't know what beers are going for in the bar these days. I don't know if is it $7, $10, $3, $5, but it seems like we're charging a lot of money still and not seeking to improve upon the delivery. The presentation. Yeah, the experience.
The whole thing.
The experience. And speaking of experiences, this was fantastic having you on with us today, Chris. I want to thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you wanted to, close with? Anything else you wanted to say? Did you want to give a shout out to the Gator Nation that just won a national title in tennis and that are making it to the playoffs in women's softball, and play Michigan for the first game of the season in football in Dallas, Texas? I don't want to get too Gators on you guys, but is there anything else you want to leave us with, Chris?
Just thanks to both of you for this opportunity to have me on, and for help motivating me to continue down and join you in this journey. And I encourage anyone else out there to join us. It's fun. It's healthy. It's just a great way to expand, the pleasures in life in a safe way.
Yeah, absolutely. We're building a community.
Yep.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Yeah,
Come on in. That it? Are we going to ramble at the end before we end the show?
I don't really have the rambling
we all say go Gators.
That's right. Go Gators.
Oh, you're waiting for me to say, go Gators.
Mike, clearly not the Gators fan, but that's okay. We won't hold it against him. If you want to reach out to Chris with any further questions about anything that he's got going on, whether it's you just want to chat about AeroPresses or cookies or coffee or roasting, questions about the Hookie, questions about the Nesco, questions about air poppin', give him a shout out at chris@roostersroast.com. Again, that's chris@roostersroast.com. And of course, you can find the show notes at orangecactuscoffee.com/episode 53. That's /episode 53. Appreciate you listening. It's an honor to be here with you, and we'll catch you next time.